How you doing there, friends? This is Bill MacDonald, the writing doctor, and today I wanted to show you the last 3 reasons your students can get not 1, but 2 zeros. Even though writing is subjective, sometimes their guidance on specific scores is very clear, and so unscorable essays will always get zeros, but the good thing is that 2 different graders who don't know what the other person put have to agree that the score deserves a 0 for non-scorable. If it's a 0, 1 or a 1, 0, then they throw those 2 scores out and they'll grade it so that the score is either 0, 0, 1, 1, or any other adjacent score where if it's not a 1, 1, it has to be a 1, 2, or a 2, 3, or a 3, 4 paper, so that the numbers that are assigned the grade are adjacent. So let me go ahead and click share screen, the advanced button, and content from a second camera for those of you who are trying to figure out how to use Zoom. These are the last 3 reasons why you can get a 0. And I want to just make sure you see on the bottom that I have a disclaimer that STAR is a registered trademark of the Texas Education Agency. They do not endorse the products and or materials of any consultant or company. This company, may the force be with you, does not represent them in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to make any money off this. I'm just trying to make sure you guys know that you need to do certain things to not get zeros with your students, because there's just some lack of clarity out there in terms of what's expected. So written in a language other than English. Okay, so at the very top of the page, it's going to say 4th grade English writing, or it's going to say 4th grade Spanish. Well, as soon as they see the word Spanish, they can also write Español, or if they say the word English, they can rewrite the word English. And if you remember that the first word of expository is E. So they've got to decide from the very top of the page, am I looking at words in the read, think, write, and be sure to section that are in English or that are in Spanish? But here's the key word. The students writes primarily in a language other than English when taking the Spanish test, or the students writes primarily in a language other than Spanish when taking the Spanish test. So those are basically your 2 options, English or Spanish. And so if you have a couple of words, a couple of sentences, a small portion of your paper is coming out in the wrong language, and in the grader's mind, primarily in another language, then they have to give you a 0. And most likely 2 different people will give you a 0 for writing in the wrong language. But remember, if there's only a few sentences or a few words or phrases that are in a different language, you can't give that paper a 0. You can still score it appropriately. I asked why that was the case, and they said that many students by the end of the year are still in the transition mode, and they might not know a certain word in English or Spanish, and they will write what some of you call Tex-Mex or Spanglish. Well, as long as it's only here and there, then you don't have to penalize them. The second one, does not write in prose. Okay, 2 examples of prose are writing a story and a personal narrative, which that's not what we're writing on April the 6th. Another form of prose is expository. And so if you think of this, Eminem the singer and Eminem the candy have a big brother named P&P. What is the purpose that we'll be writing on April the 6th? Expository, where you EXP, explain, and hopefully EXP, explode your ideas with higher vocabulary. The prompt, the topic. If you respond to the prompt in the form of a P, a play, a poem, a P, a play, or using lots of pictures. That's not the purpose of expository. So you would get a 0. In addition, there's a big difference between writing a song and writing a story about the prompt. If your student clearly has a central idea about the topic, they are responding to the prompt, but they end up writing a story, the rubric for a 1 says you'll get a 1 for writing in the wrong purpose. It's in the organization section. The very first bullet talks about writing in the wrong purpose or not really following the prompt adequately, okay? And it's up to the reader to decide how much of this is explaining and how much of this is them telling a story or a personal narrative about something that happened to them instead of explaining what they think about an idea and their reasons. For some kids, if they do what I call an expository, it's sort of like a hybrid essay where half of the essay is explaining and half of the essay is telling a story. Well, because there's enough there, at least half of the essay is you explaining, then you could give the paper a 2 and a 2 because there is enough explaining, not always following the purpose. You'll see that in the 2 rubric for organization, not always following the prompt. If they kind of are on task, on topic about half the time, or if you're doing an expository, half explaining and half telling a story, then you can give your kids a 2. The last one is sometimes difficult. If you just have students that refuse to write, the ones that are online, they may or may not want to come to school on test day. And there's some debate about what to do about that. So I have a little saying that says RRC, really radical classrooms, plural, have rules, rewards, and consequences. And so if you have some rules and you expect your students to actually show up on test day, then you might have to go beyond your rules because every classroom is supposed to have a set of rules, either student made or teacher made. I always think it's better to allow the students to come up with the rules. That way it's about we are going to follow our rules that we made as a class. And it's not just me, the teacher, being a dictator. And so we've got to find out what are some reasonable, appropriate rewards for responding to the prompt, at least with some effort, and what are some reasonable consequences. Now, many of you will know that on test day, you have to be careful about what you say and how you say it. I suggest highly that on April the 5th, the day before the test, you tell your kids, these are all the 50 nifty things you have to remember for tomorrow. If you don't write tomorrow, I can't give you a consequence that day, but I would be willing to give you severe consequences on any other time. And I always say, let the punishment fit the crime and let the prize fit the honor and recognition that your students deserve for doing whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. So these are the last reasons that your kids can get zeros. And so here's what I want you to do. If you are in a position where you can't decide what a score should get, if you think it's a 0 or not, make sure you send me through Messenger or through email the prompt, the topic. And because we're too close to the test, let's just make sure it's all expository for 4th, 7th, and 9th grade, or persuasive for 10th. Now I want to show you my card that I have here. Turn off this glare. My company is called May the Fours be with you. This club is called May the Fours be with you, ELAR, writing and reading. So if you call my office, I'm not there very often, but you can call my office and I'll check my messages, my cell number. Just make sure that you let me know who you are and what you're needing. If I don't recognize a number, I don't usually answer it, but if you leave a message, I can get back to you. I'm not using my fax right now because it's so easy to scan documents and email them. If you decide you want to send me some essays, I do offer grading essays for $10 a piece, analytically scoring them. You'll send them to 635 East Ellis Avenue in Alamo, Texas. You can email me at writing_doctor@yahoo.com. If you want to speed up the process, you can darken the copy so that I can see them clearly. Send them to me at this email address. Message me to let me know that you emailed some essays. You can also go to my Right Prescription store, The Right Prescription on Teachers Pay Teachers, or my website is www.therightprescription.com. And I'd be happy to, I don't mind grading an essay for you or with you, or maybe two, but if you're going to be sending me 5 or 10, my fee for doing that is $10 an essay, and I kind of pretty much do them in order. You'll get a response within a few days or at the most a week. And I think sometimes we need to not look at how much a student has improved during the year, because that has nothing to do with the scoring guide. What does the scoring guide say about the student's ability? His essay is an x-ray. What can he get right now in terms of his ability, and what band-aids or surgery can I give to try and improve? Because I really feel like there's enough time to improve every single essay of every single student by at least 1 point from 2 different graders. So 1 + 1 is 2. So if you can even increase by 1 point in 4th grade, sometimes those 2 points instead of 0 might make the difference between getting approaches or failing, or getting approaches or meets, possibly meets or masters, just getting an extra score point. So the good thing about 7th, 9th, and 10th is that 1 + 1 is 2, and they want the essay to be worth more in secondary, so they double that score. So just getting 2 1s in 7th, 9th, and 10th become 4 points extra instead of 0 because of whatever reason that we've mentioned on this sheet. Go ahead and go back, scroll down my page to find out the other 3 videos on how to get zeros. So I hope that this was helpful. Feel free to, as many of you have done, message me, email me. Until the test, my training fee for 1 day is $2,000, and it comes with 5 hard copies of the binder, 5 sets of the folders. Let me show that to you. You'll get 5 sets of these advanced folders if you're teaching 4th grade or higher, where it's got the expository, editing, revising strategies. On the bottom half, it has the alphabet in print and cursive, figurative language examples, examples of dialogue. And on the inside, it's what I call a glorified thesaurus, where if your students don't have the desire or the motivation to go inside a dictionary or thesaurus, maybe at least for the next couple weeks, they can go inside this colorful folder, and every teacher would get 25 of these. You would laminate them while they were straight, and then allow them to do their last minute surgeries over the next couple of years. So just as a reminder, there's several reasons to get a 0 that I already went over. The first bullet says clearly state your central idea, your controlling idea, or your thesis. That said for a 2 organize your essay. What are they looking for? Is the blue. They want why, read 1 or 2 reasons. You can see his left arm and his right arm there. 1 or 2 reasons why, called topic sentences. And if you can give me examples of what you mean, that would help. And every example for elementary, middle school, high school is in one of these categories: personal, hypothetical, current, historical. One way to remember is because pirates have one eye, because they have that patch sometimes. Sometimes pirates have hooks, and Johnny, whatever his name is, I can't remember, that played the guy from the Johnny Depp was the pirate from the Caribbean. Pirates have cool hair. Pirates have cool hats, because they do. And pirates have cool hooks. Help them remember that so that they can decide, what example do I want to use? Personal, it happened to me or someone I know. Hypothetical, it didn't happen. It's realistic fiction. It could happen. They can lie as long as it's believable. A current event situation from the news or a book or a song. But remember, don't just rewrite the song or rewrite the book, or something that happened before I was born. In order to get a 3, the third bullet says, develop your ideas in detail. That's when you're explaining using the 6 W's plus 1. What is that? For each example, who can I use to explain this example? What can I use? When does this example take place? Where does it take place? Why does it take place? Which details are the most important to help me explain the example that goes with the reason? And how can I use these effectively to make sure that I'm actually explaining? EXPLAIN. Who, what, when, where, why, which, how. The 4th bullet says, choose your words carefully. Well, you can get a 3-4 paper. If you're choosing your words carefully, then you're adding what I call toes. The saying about toes says, don't judge a person until you walked a mile in their shoes. In other words, until you've seen their point of view, their thoughts and their opinions, or their feelings and emotions about their idea, their reasons, and the topic. Okay, so in English, the voice is, how can you address the topic in a creative way with toes? What truism, what quote or saying can you use? What effective transitions can I move from the introduction to the body and from the body to the conclusion? If you're going to have 2 reasons, then your shirt would be reason 1, your little belt would be your transition, and your pants would be reason 2. For an O, it's a head. What are my opinions and thoughts about what I'm writing? And that's why there's a heart there and a head, and in my head there's a brain. And so what heart and head connection can I make to add some voice that shares my feelings and emotions, or my thoughts and opinions about the topic? You can either tell me your emotions with higher vocabulary, or show me by saying, I'm going to remove that word frightened and replace it with what I do when I'm frightened, or what I say when I'm frightened. And so that's what they mean by show, don't tell. The S of toes is the senses. What can I see, hear, feel, taste, and touch that I can also relate to? I want to be able to see the world as you see it. When I remove my glasses, the world doesn't change, just the way that I see it. And so I want the reader to be able to see the world, the topic, my idea, and my reasons from my point of view, by adding the ones that we just talked about, or what we call the 5 senses, things that you might say regarding that topic, things that could possibly come out of your mouth, and salsa, which is the higher vocabulary and the figurative language. And I've shown you this before, but the 4th bullet says, choose choose your words carefully. You can get a 4 by thinking of the W of words as two V's, higher vocabulary and voice. And then using figurative language sparingly and appropriately, because with salsa, you want to put a little bit of sauce on the chips, not a little bit of chips on your sauce. There has to be more literal language, but it has to make sense. So don't force your students to have contrived essays where you're forcing all of these figurative expressions into the essay, or having too much dialogue, because you want a composition about the topic, not a conversation. We don't want to just have dialogue. So there you have it. As you can see, if I'm working with a bilingual school like I was this week, then I worked with this side of the outline for an English group, and I worked with the left side for my Spanish group in the afternoon. The last bullet does say, check your essay for spelling, capitalization, punctuation, grammar, and sentences. Well, the two most important sentences at the end are the ending for two. That's where you can either restate or repeat if you're just trying to get to twos, rephrase if you're trying to get to threes, or have a conclusion, 3 syllables, which is a reflection. How's my world better or worse because of what you've done? And then because Z is the last letter of the alphabet, we can draw Z. Conclusion. Editing to do the cups, the grammar, or the revising to do the content, where you're adding, removing, replacing, or moving things before you turn the essay in. So I hope that that was helpful. The last 3 ways on how to get a 0, and then how to have decent structure, not a formula, because a formula is where you're always writing the same thing. You have all the same hook, the same attention getter. Everybody's asking a question. No, we don't want to do that. So make sure that you understand this is called the structure. These are the things that need to be in expository, regardless of what programs tell you. The student rubric clearly shows that these are what the reader's looking for if you want to get what my company calls a 4. May the 4s plural be with you from 2 different readers, okay? Right here, the English prompts are in pages 416 to 441 in the binder for those of you that have it. So God bless you guys and have a wonderful day.